In today's video, I visit the world's pointiest sea stack. It's so pointy, it just looks like a giant needle. I also received some very honest feedback from some of my photography workshop participants, and we make it to a very remote island with Brent where we don't really feel that welcome. But before we get into all of that majesticness, there's been a complaint. In my last video, I made two grievous errors. The first was having an opinion. The second was that opinion turned out to be wrongthink. You see, in that video, I declared that the bokeh produced by this lovely 135mm Hasselblad lens was the best bokeh that I'd ever seen. Well, I certainly got put in my place, didn't I?
Darren writes,
"Really? That's the best bokeh you've ever seen? You probably should try that shot with the Nikon planer. What you got was a bunch of lemon-shaped balls."
Harsh words. My blurry light balls may have been lemon-shaped, but at least they weren't crusty chapati-shaped like the ones that I get from this Sony/Zeiss 55mm f1.8.
"Oh, I love a crusty chapati."
And while I did clearly mention that I'm not a portrait photographer, I'm a landscape photographer, so what do I know about bokeh? I promise that I will try harder to learn more about what kind of fruit shapes are acceptable in a bloody blurry background. Now, I've already started to get glowing feedback from all of you who bought my brand new book, Stories Within Stories, quite possibly the best landscape photography book ever written after the first one that I did. And if you're interested in getting your own signed copy, there's a link in the description. All right, so let me show you the pointiest sea stack I have ever seen.
Scenes like these, the compositions find themselves, so I wasted no time framing up my first shot.
Alright, so as you can see, it is all about this sea stack in the middle there. It's absolutely fantastic. I'll just make this a little bit darker. And of course, the sea stack that's right next to it, and the crashing waves, and that bit of coastline there that you can see. It's just so dramatic, even in atrocious light like this. I mean, look at that. That's as bad. Sunset is happening somewhere right now as we speak, but this is what we've got. So we're pretty much going into blue hour, and then we might actually get something. But I just love the way that these waves come lapping in onto the shore here. And I'm trying to get shutter speeds of round about 1/6 of a second, just to get a tiny bit of motion blur in those waves, but not too much. So it's just a dead simple shot, and to be honest, this is just a bit of a recce mission, just to see where the best comps are for when the light happens. And I predict that we'll probably come back to this place over and over again, the sunrise, sunset, until we get good light. And that's all it takes, is just good light with a comp like this, and I'll get an absolutely killer shot. And the bonus is, what else have we got here, love?
Puffins!
Puffins.
Yeah, they're so cute.
Anyway, if this shot turns out to be any good, here's a shot.
Now, I know I said I was going for that 1/6 of a second shutter speed, but when I saw this 16-second exposure, I knew I'd got my shot. The light was fading, and we wanted to be back for sunrise, so it was time to get back to the camper for lights out.
Well, it's 4 AM, and I've had about 4 hours of sleep, and I do have a face like the acute tonsillitis of a very sickly child. But I'm quite happy because we're off back to my favourite cove for sunrise. Amanda's not up yet. She's got 15 minutes before we're supposed to meet everybody, so hopefully she'll be up in the next couple. We'll be on our way.
No, I won't.
I think it's time for you to get up, love.
I doubt it.
We had a really stormy night last night. The camper was rocking. And you could have come knocking because it wasn't us, it was the wind. Absolutely brutal. But we did manage to nod off, finally, for our 13 minutes of sleep. Any time now, love?
I don't think so.
You just going to stay there?
Forever.
Well, I'm going to finish my last drop of coffee and then go knock up next door's sleeping giants and let's get us on the road. The light was looking quite promising, but the waves were gone.
Now, even though the weather has improved greatly and the forecast is looking good, we've lost those major winds, which means we've lost the waves. The waves are not as intense as they were yesterday. But if I had to choose epic light over a few waves, I think I'd go for the light. And it's looking kind of promising.
Luckily, the sea stack was right where I'd left it, and I already knew where to find my shot.
Hopefully you can just see these pink striations. I don't know if they're going to show up on this camera. But there's these lovely little slashes of pink against this sort of slate grey, which I really like that colour combo. But what I'm hoping for is, if you look at the light that's on the surface of the water there, I'm hoping that some of that pink light, if it really erupts, reflects on the water, so that I've got colour not just in the top of the frame but also in the bottom of the frame. So we shall see. I've switched to the Sony because I think I managed to get some moisture in Amanda's hasselblad. It's looking kind of foggy because I was out shooting in the rain yesterday, so we won't tell her about that though. She'll never notice. Anyway, if she does, I'll just tell her it's a mist filter or something like that. She won't notice. So anyway, we're about 20 minutes from actual sunrise, which means that the best colour will happen between now and then. So I'm hopeful that I'm going to get some colour. Now what I'm doing is a relatively long exposure, maybe like a quarter of a second, just to get a tiny bit of motion blur in the water there. But then I'm making sure to take some really, really fast frames to capture all of the birds flying in and out. There's lots of gull action going on. So I don't want to miss out on those shots, and then I'll just blend them together in Photoshop.
So while the light teased us with glimpses of colour, I figured I'd get some honest feedback.
Now, Mark, what's been your favourite part of this photography workshop so far?
I think the wonderful companionship of the people in this particular group.
Yeah.
And of course, the leadership of Gavin. He's just so full of good tips and good composition ideas. A real master. I just really enjoy being around him.
$20 in your pocket there for that one, thanks. Well, it's looking nice over there.
Yeah.
Well, you can see that over there. Absolutely magnifique. Just need it over where I'm composing my shot. As always, it's always the same. Right, let's go and see what Chris has got to whinge about. Chris, what's been your most treasured moment on this trip?
It's always being able to spend time with you. That is always the best part of any photo trip or workshop.
Now, we'll do that again, but can you say it like you mean it? Luca, let's just show people your big rig here. Look at the beast he's got going on here. What?
He's got a sail.
Yeah, that's going to catch the wind a bit. Yep. What is that, polarizer? ND?
It's ND, yeah.
So you're going for like a super long exposure?
Yeah, like 15 seconds.
15 seconds. Let's flip this round.
Not that much wave action going on, so I'm trying to smooth the sea out.
Actually, that should be my thumbnail, because like, if I show that, people are going to be like, what the f is that? And they're going to be really curious about it. So, I mean, have you enjoyed yourself so far, though, on this photography workshop?
I have. It's been, well, it started off with a few days with a bit cloudy and so on, but
Yeah.
Nowadays it's been picking up really good.
Did you get some good shots yesterday?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah,
I got some really good shots of you being in my shot yesterday.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, it was really good.
With my yellow jacket and everything.
Yep, bright yellow jacket.
Yep.
In the left of the frame there. So, I mean, if you want a profile picture, I could probably do a fairly good deal on that, $20 or something. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll send it you, but I'll put a logo through it just in case you steal it. You know what I mean? Copyright infringement and all that.
I have a picture of you as well. We can switch.
But is it like a blackmail picture or is it a picture that I actually want?
Oh, you wait and see.
I'm 100% sure that Luca's picture of me is probably not very flattering. For this image, I shot one frame for the sky and bird at 1/640th of a second and then blended it with a longer exposure for everything else. The next day, I had to get an oil change for the truck, but would the camper fit through that door?
Well, it was a little bit tense, but we managed to fit in Mr Lube. And I reckon it's going to be about 20 minutes to do a full oil change. Then we're back on the road.
We had a few hours of driving and then a ferry to catch, and I got confused by this big glowing orb in the sky, and then I remembered it was the sun.
Well, it's 3:30 p.m. I've had a good 6 hours of sleep and I still have a face like a barbecued kumquat. But I'm quite happy because today we're on a ferry to go to a place called Change Island. And then after that, we might go to Fogo Island on another ferry. We might do both today, we're not sure. Depends what we find. If we really like Change Island, we'll probably spend the night there and maybe shoot sunrise there tomorrow. And then the next day, go off to Fogo Island. Who knows? Could be a multi-day trip, but I'm quite excited of possibly getting some really gorgeous cultural seascapes, you know, like little fishing villages and quaint huts and stages and all that. Brent's following in his cheap rental and we'll meet him there and start scoping things out. Do you know how long the ferry is?
17 hours.
No, it's not.
Half hour, I think.
Half an hour?
Yeah.
This was the cheapest ferry I've ever paid for. It was $15 for a half-hour ferry ride. That would have cost $50 in BC, wouldn't it?
Well, we don't know how much it is to Fogo.
Or how much it is to get back. They'll probably charge you triple to get back. That's probably how they do it. That's how I do it.
So we set sail for Change Island, and before we could settle in, we were almost there. The ferry got ready to dock and we drove off the boat to see what we could find, and within minutes we were charmed by the colours and culture of Newfoundland. But would it last?
So this is what it's all about. This is why we've come to Change Island, because there's scenes like this. I know this is not my usual style. Oh, nice bit of light happening now. But it's just, I just love this sort of Canadian cultural scene. And it's just beautiful, this reflection that I've got. All of this, I don't know what this stuff is in the water, but you've got this beautiful sort of yellow colour. Maybe some kind of seaweed, some kind of kelp, I don't know. And I'm talking quiet because I'm trying not to annoy the locals, because there's only, well, in 2016 there was just over 200 residents on this island, so that's quite a long time ago, but let's say it's 400. That's still not many people, and I've been getting some weird looks because, let's face it, my camper is probably quite the eyesore with its rocking and its swaying and its squeaking. So people are wondering, who the hell are these weirdos? Probably sick of tourists doing exactly what I'm doing. So I'm trying not to be annoying, but I really love this scene. So I think I might just get my tripod out and take a quick shot. Alright, I've framed up a half decent shot, but to be honest with you, without any kind of dramatic light, it's not really a shot. But I guess you could say that about any kind of photography. You need light for a shot to be absolutely fantastic, but you also need a composition first for that light to do something. So I'll show you the back of the camera and I'll explain what I've framed up. Alright, quite obviously I've gone for an X-Pan 65-24. Now I did try a full, the full medium format frame to feature some of this really interesting foreground there, but the problem is there was just a massive gap. If that stuff was a little bit closer, then I think I would have shot that, but it isn't. It's a huge gap, so I decided to stick with this X-Pan aspect ratio. Now I'll show you something here. What I originally framed up was this so that the main building there was a bit more central. But I can't say I'm in love with that house there, that white one. Just not because there's anything wrong with it, but just because these look antique, that doesn't. So I'm trying to keep everything with the same vibe. So I decided to go for the X-Pan. I think it's going to work, but I just need some dramatic light, just lightning or beams of light, storm light, anything will do. I don't think that's too much to ask. Anyway, Brent's been gone quite a while, so I think he must have found something quite epic, but my car, well, my truck can't make it on that sketchy road. It's just too dodgy. So I'll just wait for him to come back and gloat over the shots that he's got.
Not a bad shot, but I knew I could do better. All I needed to make this work was a bit of fog.
I think we've seen all of Change Island, so we're just going to get the next ferry to Fogo.
Did you get some dirty looks as well?
I got some dirty looks, yeah.
Yeah, I did as well.
There was some guy screaming at his wife and then picked up his dog and threw it in the house. It was a bit of a scene.
Oh.
And then he gave me a weird look, so Fogo it is then. So how's your third night sleeping in the GMC Acadia then?
Well, not too bad, actually.
Can we have a look at your rig? Let's see what your sleeping arrangements are like.
Do you want me to clean it up first?
No, let's keep it as it is. So what we've got in here, we've got sleeping bag, we've got inflatable sleeping mats, the Marest.
Yeah. I can cuddle with my tripod.
Cuddle with your pano tripod,
Yeah.
which I've seen you do quite a few times, disturbingly so.
Yeah. And more winter clothes than
You should ever need at this time of year.
you should ever need.
And
I should have actually brought in my -20 sleeping bag because this.
Evicted. We just got evicted by the Acadia.
Yeah, the 0 degree bag isn't warm enough.
No, this is freezing. This is we've had actually this is quite good compared to what we've had. Look at that. That's actually quite comfortable.
Well, we had 5 minutes of sun today, so.
Yeah, that was nice. I did like that.
Once we got to Fogo Island, the fog rolled in and we got very excited. But you'll have to tune in to a future episode to find out what happened next when Brent makes a new friend.